Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Cozy Christopher. Today we're going to be doing the last video that I'm going to do on this particular laptop, which is the ASUS ROG STRIX SCAR 15. And I have had this now for almost 30 days, so almost a full month. And the only thing that I can say about this laptop is wow, right? Like, it's an amazing laptop. I guess for starters, I'll do the bad first, and this isn't even bad. It's relative. For me, as a content creator, and as a casual gamer, and as a pixel peeper, and someone that will always choose the fidelity 30 frames per second mode over the 60 frames per second performance mode, the resolution is the only problem for me. And so when I'm using this for editing, when I'm using this for for editing video, and then using this for looking at photos, for thumbnails creation and things like that, personal projects, for consuming any type of media outside of gaming, so like if I'm watching YouTube or Netflix, those things, it's almost like the same thing that you do with the iPad, is that not as much with the iPad, because the iPad kind of has the scaling thing down, but at 1440p, the resolution is just a weird resolution for things outside of gaming. And so for it to be maxed at that, it makes it makes some media just seem like off or weird, if you will. Now, I've shown so many clips where in gaming the screen catches you off guard, at least for myself, because it looks amazing. And I don't want to dwell there, but I did want to point out that is the only thing to me that makes this not the best laptop in the world. Best laptop in the world, speculative, right? So let's jump into this. The actual, and I'll start with the physical aspects of the laptop, and we can look at, I guess, the tech specs of the laptop. This is the SCAR 15. If you haven't seen my other videos, I'll link them above. I'll link the playlist above. But it comes with Windows Pro 10. It comes with an AMD Ryzen 9 5900HX processor, 3.3 gigahertz, 16 megs of cache, up to 4.6 gigahertz. It's lightning fast. From a productivity standpoint, multi-core, it's the best on the mobile market right now. From a single core, it's right there. Like, it goes back and forth from some of the Tiger Lake stuff. But overall package is that it's the best on the market. If you put the multi-core, single core together, it's the best. It comes with the Nvidia GeForce RTX 3080 laptop. Now this is the 16 gigabyte version. So this is the largest at this point for mobile. The difference between this and maybe the MSI or the upcoming X17 is that it's 115 watts, and that's native, and then with the boost, it can go to 130 watts, whereas some of those are 145 and 165 watts respectively. And so those are also paired with Intel, and so we've yet to see what that means from the X17 in comparison to this laptop. Again, the 15.6 inch 1440p resolution screen, it does have anti-glare. There's no, even with these bright lights shining on it in the it's not a studio, it's my office, but I'll call it a studio for YouTube. But even with these lights shining on it, there is, let me move this over and make sure you guys can hear me. There is no glare on the screen. And I mean, I have the typical YouTube setup, so there's 3 lights, one in front, one off to the side, and one directly behind me, and there's no glare anywhere on the screen that you can see or perceivably pick up. So great screen, DCI P3 100%, and it's 165 hertz 1440p screen. So when it comes to the screen, there is no lag or blur or anything like that as far as the screen picking up what's on the screen, if you will. 1 terabyte NVE PCI 3 SSD, and then it has combo audio jack. It's microphone and headphones. It has the HDMI 2.0, which is 4K 60 capped, where some of the other ones in the market, especially in this price range, or at least this tier, has the 2.1, which will give you that 4K 120 to an external monitor. It has three USB 3.2 Gen 1s. It has one 3.2 Gen 2 Type C support, and that's for charging and data delivery. And then it's also like built-in display port, power delivery. It has the optical mech keyboard per key RGB, and this is one of the prettiest keyboards, just laptops in general, I have ever seen. And I mean, the laptop is gorgeous. It is just flat out gorgeous. I know everybody focuses on these like wobble things, and does it open up with one touch, one hand thing. I mean, I don't care really about, let me open this back up. I mean, I don't really care about those things. I mean, it's relative to, right? Like, once it's up and open, like, does it matter? And are you ever picking up a $3,000 laptop and doing these type of things with it? So I get it. People want to know those things, but I mean, once you sit it on your lap or on the desk, it is what it is. The screen is beautiful. It is a 16:9. It's not the 16:10 ratio that everybody's starting to like. That gives you a little bit more real estate. It's your regular 16:9 aspect ratio. But the screen itself is beautiful. And again, like, I know a lot of people talk about resolution to size and whether or not you can see it, but I sit 3.5-ish feet away from a 4K OLED screen on a day-to-day use case. And so when I look from my 4K OLED perfect display to a 1440p 16:9 15.6-inch display on my lap, it's relative from my eye distance to that and size to the relativity of distance. And I'm sure there's a scientific formula there or mathematical formula there that we can use to see if it's a difference. But someone like myself that always typically has the best and brightest can tell. And so for most people, this 1440p screen is going to be amazing. And again, this may not mean anything for anyone except for people like myself. So it's very, very small niche group of people that of people that focus on resolution and clarity, sharpness, and things like that when they're consuming content. Like, I'm okay with lower frame rates to have a better looking game, again, because the type of gamer that I am, casual gamer, I want to see the best, not necessarily play the best. And so again, unique to a small group of people, because with this being a gaming laptop, I would think the majority of people, and not just think, but I know that people have wanted a 1440p in the gaming world as opposed to 1080p for the higher refresh rates. And so let's bring up one of my videos so that we can test the sound on this. Let's do this one because I just opened this one, and I'll have music that we can listen to. And now I'll move the mic a little closer. I thought I could read the sign. You were sending up flares, red and gold everywhere. I remember my hands, thinking I had a chance, reaching out for a dance in the fiery air. Now I can't afford. Okay. And so let's talk about the sound in real use, right? I know they do the microphone. We put the microphone over it to see what it sounds like. It sounds really good. It sounds really, really good. However, when you are in a room full of people, for instance, like myself, I've sat up in the living room with the kids, and watching TV with them and kind of been doing my thing on my laptop. And it's not loud enough at that point to overpower ambient noise as such as a room full of people, or other TVs going and things like that. So, but that's not to say that these are not good speakers and it has good sound. It's just that I want to set your expectation realistically that this is not like the loudest. It's not going to be bass and mids and stuff like that in there, although it does sound good. It does sound better, a lot better than your average laptop. Now, moving on from there, let's talk about let's jump into the keyboard. Like I want to touch on this keyboard. We talked about it a second ago, but I really do want to touch on this keyboard. And I'm going to open Microsoft Word and I'm going to type in some gibberish because I don't want weird stuff popping up on the screen. But I want you all to hear this keyboard and what it sounds like. Let's see. I want you to hear what it sounds like. So I'm gonna put this little, above the keyboard, if you will, but I'm not gonna do anything extra to emphasize it. And so I'm going to type on it now. And I'm gonna use my regular typing. So I'm not gonna do like extra to make it sound crazy. I'm just gonna okay. And next I'm going to type on, this is my Logitech G9 15 TKL. And so it's, I'm going to type on this one now so you can hear the difference. Now this keyboard is just buttery. This thing is beautiful, it's gorgeous. The G9 15 TKL. And then here is again is the ASUS ROG Strix. So, why that's important is that it's not your typical laptop keyboard. It's not. It's snappy and it's responsive and it has really good key travel and it has accuracy and it just works really, really well. And so I wanted to make sure that, I emphasize that this keyboard is one of the best keyboards that I've used ever on a laptop. And now I use a Dell, I think it's a 7410. It's like your standard corporate version for work. And that keyboard was decent until I started using this keyboard. And now it's just, it makes it hard to use that one for work. So I don't know, maybe I'll make a switch. But this keyboard is amazing. And I wanted to point out, that to you all, because if you're somebody that will use this to do your content creation on it and you're going to be typing up, I don't use scripts for my videos, but if you're going to be typing up scripts, if you're going to be typing up content, if you're using this for like copywriting or anything like that, any of those types of applications, it's amazing. And I do want to point out to everyone that you can turn off the RGB on this. So if you don't want RGB, you can turn it completely off, and so that it's stealth and it's turned off. And so like if you're in a business space, you can turn it off and not have anything showing. But I mean, why would you turn off such a beautiful screen? I mean, even in the meetings I would sit in, I would still have my lights showing for everybody to see. Conversation starter. So yeah, that's that, as far as like the actual keyboard itself. I do want to talk about the layout. It's a 10 keyless layout. It has the media controls over to the side. A lot of people complain when the media keys are off to the side. They say that, your fingers bump into them and different things like that. I haven't had any of those issues whatsoever with that. I think the placement, the fact that I get a full size keyboard that matches the size of a typical desktop 10 keyless makes it easier to type. And I think that that's an actual plus. I know that the numbers aren't there. I mean, I've gotten so used from just typing class to be able to use the numbers without actually ever having to use an actual dedicated numpad off to the side. And again, I don't know what games have those applications like that, but you can create hotkeys on this keyboard. So outside of that, I love the fact that everything is right here in front to be able to adjust what's necessary. So the microphone on and off kill switch, the Aorus crate switch here to get you to the Aorus crate system, the volume, again, the RGB lighting, the Aura key, the fan speed, the clip key, the brightness, everything is right there on top. And then let's not forget about that. If you are the type of person and you need a numpad, you have the built-in numpad right there in the touchpad there. And I forget that it's there, even though I've had the sticker on the whole time. I took it off for this video. I forget that that's there, but that is so for those that are complaining about not having a numpad. Why isn't everyone else doing that? I don't know, but that is it's amazing. So let's get back to over here, and let's get back to the not necessarily the specs, but the AuraSync Lightbar, AuraSync logo, and the AuraSync bezel glow. So I mean that's on the front of the laptop there, right? That's on the lid in the back. The lid on the back lights up there, and you can see that. So I mean, just again, when it comes to that, this is just a gorgeous PC. It's looking at it is breathtaking. And even when you have it sitting on the desk with the lid closed, depending on how you have it set up, you can have it, you can have the lights, kind of flashing through the lid every once in a while through the back. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. It just looks really good. The price point is amazing, $2,699.99 for what you get. I mean, this is so, in my opinion, underpriced compared to some of the other ones that are in that range of performance. And I'm not a benchmark person. I'm not going to do it. Like, there's a ton of channels that are doing benchmarks on this, but just the power you get with this is just amazing. And we'll talk about editing on it, and we'll talk about gaming on it, or I have an actual full video on gaming, but I wanted to point out like the ports without actually having to like pick it up and lift it around. So there's your Gen 3.2 port, right? There's your audio jack right there on the left hand side over here. And then here's on the back of your LAN, the HDMI 2.0 port, the USB Type C where I have my Atmos Bird SSD 500 gig SSD plugged into it to use for editing. And people complain about, again, another thing, people complain about having to lift it to put things in and different things like that. I would prefer for all of those to be out of the way instead of having them here sticking out right there in my vision. And as I was working on it, there would be cables and cords sticking out. I prefer that everything is behind the laptop. Even when I'm carrying it and I have it on my lap, I put the cords that, go through it going forward, or, like if I have my hard drive, I put it on the seat right in front of me. But in my opinion, I think that this is the best possible, way for it to be set up. And so from there, I just want to talk about, a few other things. It is Wi-Fi 6 enabled, and so you get the fastest built-in Wi-Fi. Although I do want to point out, I did have some Wi-Fi issues, I guess, where sometimes it would run extremely slow. I don't know, and I cannot say for sure if it's a Comcast thing, because we all know that Comcast will do that from time to time, especially when it's a um, a residential account as opposed to a business account. We all know that Comcast will be spotty, and so I have, and I'll put them up here on the screen now. Um, but I do have, where sometimes it's just blazing fast, and then sometimes it is a crawl, and it's like, why is this game taking so long to download? Why is this taking? So I don't know. Again, I can't say for sure that it was Comcast, and that's why that it's not Comcast, and that's why I did not label it in the beginning as a bad thing, because it's inconclusive whether or not it's Comcast or it's the laptop. Another thing that we'll talk about, I talked about in the unboxing, and that is in the plays linked above. Like, it comes with these custom plates, and these custom plates go on the back part of the, let's get that one in focus. There we go. The custom plates come in the back part of the go in the back part of the chassis, and they allow you to change just like that little sliver of color on there to kind of customize it the way you want. And I've seen people paint those and different things like that. It comes with this key that plugs into the side of the laptop. I have not touched this because I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it, and so I didn't want to plug it in. And I know a lot of people complain about that. Here it is outside of the, let's see if I can get that. I got to cover my face. There we go. I know a lot of people complain about that. And they say it's useless because it only allows you to program color profiles and different things like that. First, I will say that a lot of people will program color profiles within their desktops using Aura Sync or using IQ software by Corsair. That's actually a really big thing. So that's actually kind of cool that they thought about that. However, no one ever points out the fact that this also is used to encrypt your information. And so when you put it into perspective that way, this is a mobile laptop that you can take everywhere. And with that being said, imagine having your laptop at the airport, having your laptop at a coffee shop, having your laptop at the park, random, right? Or at the pool, like myself, as the kids are swimming and I'm out there still trying to get some work done. Imagine walking off with your laptop open because you think it's safe. That's not the best thing to do in a public place, but you think it's safe, and you come back and your laptop is gone. It's not just a, profile for colors. It actually protects your information. And I think that is an understated use case that no one talks about whenever they are bashing it. But the fact that you can have it sitting in your laptop while using it, and say, for instance, you do walk away in a public place, although you should not, but you may be in a place that you think is safe. You take it out, the information is then safe. You put it back in this little, this little carrying case here. It's awkward because I'm not looking at it. I have it facing towards you guys. But you put it back in there, right? And it has this little hook, and you put that on your keychain and you walk off. Put it in your pocket, whatever. But now your information is safe. So I didn't want to go past, that part of talking about the keyboard without talking about, the fact that this encrypts your information, so can protect your payment information, can protect the information on your laptop that you decide to put and protect. So even if you had like certain folders, files, and different things like that you wanted to protect, you can use that in this software. And so I don't want to discount that like everyone else does in regards to it being on a gaming laptop. A lot of people will use this for just day-to-day stuff as well, and so it's important that we point that out. Here's the looks of the chassis, the airflow. I've talked about airflow in the other videos. Airflow is amazing. On your lap, you don't feel the heat, but it does push out really hot heat off to the side. So going out, which is another reason why I think that they don't have the peripherals connecting on the side, because it gives it a much larger space to expel air, hot air. And so the keyboard and the screen, this is soft touch, and I haven't cleaned it or anything like that because I wanted it to be on the video like natural to the way it is. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what else to say on here. I think that this that this is a one of a kind laptop. I think it is one of the best on the market. I think that if you don't care about a 1440p screen, I don't think that, from what I've seen out there from a combination of feature set standpoint and power, I don't think that there's a better laptop on the market than this right now. Now, people will talk about the what is it? The Razer Blade 15 Advanced with the combination of the ASUS the AMD graphics card and processor, 5900HX graphics card. Processor and graphics card, 6800M mobile graphics card. And, that's debatable. I have not seen a direct comparison between that one and this one yet. I don't have it myself, and so I can't compare it. I think when you get into the difference of benchmarks, when they're less than 50 apart, and different things like that, I think that it's all relative to your personal use case, because again, a lot of those benchmarks are synthetic numbers and synthetic loads, consistent synthetic loads. You don't really know what your use case looks like until you get into your customized and personal uses. So, those benchmarks are cool, and they give you a way to compare these different devices together in a consistent way, but they don't allow you to compare those different systems in your personal way with your personal use. And so I would say definitely still look at them and use them as a deciding factor, but you really have to understand how you're going to use a machine and what that means for the particular features and the particular hardware that is in that laptop. For instance, right now, the AMD is the best multi-thread or multi-core use system on the market, processor on the market. But if you do a lot of single core stuff, the Intel series is probably better if you're not using multi-threaded programs. And then even you look at the Tiger Lake 9th generation 11980H, I believe it is the overclocked one. If you're looking at gaming, because of the architecture change, a lot of the times people have found that the 10th gen i9 is actually better, and it gives you on average a 10% increase in frame rates. But in the workload space, the 11th generation is better. So it's, again, look at them and use them as a way to decide what you're going to do, but don't make that your only deciding factor. Always look at all of the factors.
And so I was asked this question
in the ecosystem of the deciding factors to make your decision.
And so I was asked this question, and I definitely wanted to cover it. I was asked in the comments of the gaming video, is this laptop able to do 60 frames per second 4K on an external monitor? And here's my tried and true LG C10. And as you saw in the settings, it is control. And the only reason I keep showing the same games is because I try to do or show consistency. And so here's control. And on average, I'm getting 30-ish to 40-ish frames per second on 4K Ultra with this, going to the LG C10 using an HDMI 2.1 cable, and it is a certified Ultra HDMI cable. And so, within control, that's the frame rates that I'm getting. But I will say that the gameplay is extremely smooth, even though the FPS is low. And I don't have on G-Sync or anything like that. It's just pure plug in the HDMI 2.1 cable, set up the double displays, meaning extend the display using the display, right click display properties and extend it to display 2, and it's dragging the window from the main display, which is the laptop, to the LG. And so when you're not looking at the actual frame rates, as you can see, it plays smoothly, and it's not jerky, it's not stuttering or anything like that. And again, it averaged 30 to 40 frames per second. And so so I guess any questions that you might have in regards to this particular game, please ask in the comment section below. The reason I chose Control is because this game was notorious for being harsh on systems, and you saw during the 1440p on the deep dive, and if you hadn't, I linked that video at some point in this. I've probably already linked it, but I'll link it in the description or link it above. But it ran really, really well, obviously, in the 1440p on Ultra. There was no issues. It played and performed extremely well. And then again, like here we are with the 4K. And so I just wanted you all to see kind of the gameplay at 4K on Control. And then next, I'm going to do just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit of Forza Horizon 4. And that way you can see the gameplay on that one again for consistency, from my deep dive, where it was just playing it through the laptop itself on the main display, and then playing it to an external through the HDMI 2.1. And since I don't have a proper monitor, I guess, I couldn't test like DisplayPort 1.4 or pass through the USB-C or anything like that. Only the HDMI 2.1, just because of my limitations of my setup. But it performed, really well again on my LG C10. And so here we are with Forza. And as you can see, I'm setting it to 4K. I'm putting the screen, the LG C10 as a 120 hertz screen, and so I put the target at 120 to see if it's going to capture it. And then I put all the settings, to the Ultra, and to match it the way that it was with the laptop when it was a direct, on the screen. And what's actually interesting is that this when it was to the external monitor, the benchmark video started really fast compared to like when it was plugged into the laptop on the main display of the laptop. And as you can see there, I'm starting the recording on the laptop, but you can see I won't talk much during this. I'll try not to, I talk a lot, so I'll try not to talk a lot through this. But here is the benchmark video playing to the external. Okay, so one of the things that I want to point out on this, if you remember from the original video, this game really struggled on this laptop in the main display, if you will. If you remember from that video where I went back and talked about the gaming performance, this laptop really struggled with this benchmark, and there were so many times where it just did not perform well. And so you can see here that it is the laptop itself. You can see that in the system settings, but it got 60 frames per second on the 56 I guess frames per second in the benchmark on 4K Ultra to the external. So that was extremely surprising to me, and not at the same time, because if you remember, this laptop does not have a MUX switch, MUX, and what that means is that when you're playing directly on the laptop, the game is filtering through that onboard AMD graphics card, which is horrible, the integrated graphics card within the processor. And when you are playing to an external display, then it is connecting directly to the external, the dedicated RTX 3080 16 gigabyte graphics card. And so at that point, it's a direct connection between the external monitor, the LG C10 in this case, and the RTX 3080 dedicated graphics card, and it's not going through that bottleneck of the AMD integrated graphics. And that's why you're seeing better performance now on the external monitor than you are with the internal monitor, which that is confusing to me. I don't know why manufacturers would make it so that you get better performance externally than you would internally. And so, the MUX switch allowing you to bypass that integrated graphics card almost seems like a feature that should be mandatory on a gaming laptop, because by itself you don't get the best performance, which kind of defeats the point of buying the larger graphics card. Okay, so let's talk about video editing, which is the reason that I purchased this laptop, to be able to edit on the go, different parts of the house, traveling, and different things like that. Being able to spend more time with the family, even if I have headphones on and not sitting down in my office. And for ProRES, it did amazing. And I rendered, if you look at any of the videos that I did for Ratchet and Clank over the last, well, I guess you wouldn't know the actual time period from when I actually put them out, but parts 2 through 6, I did all on the laptop, and it performed swimmingly. This is the media encoder, and as you can see, it's burning through this. This particular video here is 36 minutes long, and it's 4K 60 ProRes is what it is, and it's captured directly from the PlayStation 5 into my Ninja Atmos V, and then encoded in the ProRes codec. And it's the ProRes high quality, not ProRes RAW, but the ProRes high quality codec. So about, if you're familiar with the Atmos Ninja V, and I did make a video on this and capturing gameplay with it, with the 500 gigabyte card, you get about 36 to 40 minutes of ProRes quality media, and it did exceptionally well with the ProRes. And at the end of it, if you're familiar with editing in Premiere Pro at all, then you know that Premiere Pro at the end of its program will do this weird thing. Well, it will say there's 0 time remaining, and it will sit there for a minute. But as you could see, it completed that 36-minute 4K 60 ProRes high quality edit in a little over 21 minutes. And to be fair, as far as like the amount of time that it sat there at the end, like it normally does on Premiere, it was probably another 3 to 4 minutes before it actually went from that 0 time to the check mark being totally complete. Now, what was interesting was when I was doing my this is a video I haven't put out yet, and I'm still working on it, but the GMC Sierra AT4, and this is a custom one that my uncle has, and I visited Florida, and I recorded it and did a review of it, but I have not posted that yet. But at first I thought that this was struggling with the Sony XAVC codec, and that's the Sony XAVC HS. So it's the one down from all intra quality. and I thought it was struggling. But what I had failed to realize is that this is a screen capture. And even with the ProRES before, that was a screen capture. And I wasn't thinking that means that the graphics card was being used to capture the screen. And so what I quickly realized is that I had not had to deal with this before, because with my main desktop, I don't have limitations of power because of the setup. So I put the camera on it, and then I recorded it while I edited, on it, and I went through each speed, if you will. So that's at a quarter speed. This one's here going to be at a half speed, and then next I'm going to do the full speed. And I was wondering why I was feeling like it wasn't performing the way that it had in the past, and it was because I was an idiot and I used the screen capture to try to show you all. But here it is, editing the Sony a7S III XAVC HS codec. And again, this is the highest quality that you can get before going to the Type A proprietary card that they have. So this is on a high-speed regular memory card, and it's the HS. And the next step up, you would have to have the Type A Sony card, and it would be all Intra. So highest quality possible in the Sony a7S III, 4K 60 video. And so it completely crushed it once I realized what my blunder was. So that's my blunder. But here it is, performing extremely well on that Sony footage without any skipping. And that's, again, at the full capacity. Now, where I did not make a mistake is on the H.265 codec. The H.265, like most machines, destroyed this laptop. And I tell you, it stuttered and messed around the entire time. And it was an absolute nightmare to create that Grand Theft Auto 5 Los Santos Tuners video that I did recently on the laptop. I did that entire video on the laptop, so you see the finished product. It definitely was able to complete the video, but it was a nightmare editing. It rendered it just fine, but actually working through editing the video was a nightmare. The H.265 codec, and I got this gameplay off of my Atmos Ninja V again, testing to see if that the limitation of 12 minutes was up, and I have a video coming out on that, but it completely ate that up, and it did not do well. But most full-on desktops don't do well H.265, so I'm not going to hold that against it, as we all know that is an extremely tightly compressed codec, and it still was able to render it, but I would steer clear of this laptop. Any laptops, honestly. Okay, so the last thing I want to cover is the screen itself, and I wanted to use my LG C10 as an example to kind of discuss the difference. And so, as you can see here, I have it plugged in and connected to the laptop, and it's a 10-bit color, 10-bit depth. It's capped at 30 hertz right now, and that's because that is through the USB-C port. So when I use the USB-C port, which through a USB-C docking station, a 4K 60 USB docking station, the Dell WD910, I think, or something like that. And I have that for my work laptop and etc. But as you can see here, the LG is definitely a 10-bit screen, but the laptop is only an 8-bit screen. So not only is it not a 4K screen, it's also limited to 8-bit color. And so when I talked about earlier the difference between looking at the screens that I'm used to, which are 10-bit 4K 120 OLED screen, and then, let's not dock it too much for the 30 hertz, because again, that's through the USB-C. This is a AMD laptop, so it's not Thunderbolt. So you're not getting full power there, so no, I won't dock it for that. But, you know, in that circumstance, also this laptop does not have HDR. So the limitations of the screen are it's 1440p, although it's a very fast high refresh rate at 165, but it does not have HDR and it's not 4K. And this is where those weird preferences come in that matter specifically to you and what's important to you, because even though it doesn't have those things, it will output those things. So at the HDMI 2.0, it will output 4K 60 as well as 4K 120 somehow, which was to me was confusing. But as you see, 4K 60 here, it is set at 8-bit because I didn't select the HDR. And interestingly enough, it will allow you to select 120 hertz. Although we know it does not do that, it's capped at 4K 60 because it's HDMI 2.0B. And so, in conclusion, what's my decision on this? Regretfully, I am returning this. And I will say that with really, like, I'm extremely sad about it, to be honest. Like, the laptop outside of the screen is perfect. It's perfect. The laptop is fast, it's blazing fast. It edits 4K all the way up to 120. It, you know, with a breeze minus H.265. H.265 is hard for any system. But XAVC, definitely MOV by Fujifilm, like it crushes MOV without an issue. Apple ProRES crushes it. It edits like a dream outside of the H.265, which everything, you know, kind of dies. Even my main PC has an issue with that. I had to play it in half. But because of the way that I use it for content creation, more so than gaming, it's hard for me to keep the laptop because every time I use the screen, it feels hazy to me visibly. And I don't want you to misunderstand that this is a hazy screen. This is a beautiful 1440p screen. And because of that, it feels hazy to me. And so I do have another laptop on the way. It's going to get here next week. It's supposed to be here on the 30th. It's actually supposed to be here 2 weeks ago. But it hasn't gotten here yet. And also, you know, and I won't say what that one is because I don't want to deter from this actual laptop, because if you are on the market for a 15.6 inch laptop and you want a 1440p high refresh rate, 165 hertz, low response time, I think it's 3.5 or 3.3 millisecond response time, that you can't beat this laptop. You just cannot beat this laptop. The way that it feels, the way that it performs, how the temperatures, how cool it stays, how well it games, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth, Dolby sound, Dolby Atmos sound. It just, oh my God, it's just amazing laptop. And honestly, I say this with, you know, without hesitation. If this was a 4K screen, this would be the perfect laptop. I would pay another $1,000 for this laptop. I would pay $3,699 for this to have a 4K 120 hertz screen. And I know they typically will keep 4K screens on a 17-inch laptop, but there are 15-inch, like the Aorus Gigabyte, like the Gigabyte YC 15-inch has a 4K, I think 60 hertz panel. But I would pay another $1,000, and that one is, I believe, $3,399, although it is on sale right now, a Newegg for $2,999. But I would pay another $1,000 for this laptop here, specifically this ASUS ROG STRIX SCAR 15, to have a 4K screen. It would be the perfect laptop for me, for content creation, for consuming content, for work, for gaming. It would be my end-all laptop. I would have it for years. But even without it having a webcam, which I don't really do webcam very often from
in my personal use. I have a work laptop for that. Daily driver for that. I can even use my iPad if you know, if I'm out and about and I need a webcam, I can use my iPad. It's lighter, it's easier to carry, all of those good things. But that's the only reason I'm sending it back. That is the only reason I'm sending it back. And these are really hard to come by right now, and it makes it even sadder because I was able to get one in this very hard to secure market. I got it from Micro Center, so they're not. This video is not sponsored. I don't have any sponsored videos, but Micro Center. Check Micro Center. There's 25 locations nationwide. They typically will have the hard to find laptops, and they get a pretty consistent. They get a pretty consistent flow of them coming in. You just got to check every week. Check the website because it's per location. It's not online. It's per location what they'll have. But you can reserve and you can pay and reserve and then go pick up. So that's a big thing. So anyway, again, this laptop is amazing. I'm so sad that I have to send it back. I wish I could keep it. If you're in the market for a 15-inch laptop for gaming, content creation, and you don't mind 1440p, look no further. The quality is high. The keyboard is amazing. The touchpad is accurate. It has a built-in numpad, and the touchpad, again, you don't lose anything with it. And then you have this controversial key. It never focuses right away. There we go. I think it's distance. Okay, so sorry. And even these little customization things, like you have these too. So what else can I say? Outside of the fact that I'm sad, this is the best laptop that you can buy for the money, for the size, for the price range. Its competitors are easily $600 to $1,000 higher. The MSI 15-inch with the 300 hertz 1080p screen. But yeah, I'm battling at this point. So like, share, and subscribe. Ask your questions in the comments. Let me know if there's any way I can help. As always, stay cozy in that crazy world, and I'll see you next time. Peace.